Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Supplementary Videos. My name is Kasanas. Guys, in the last episode we took a look at the idea of the physics, the basic physics objects, which included the rigid body, the collider, and the trigger. Today we're going to take a look at how we can utilize those objects through code. All right, let's get started. Okay, guys, we are right back in our previous scene. We have our knight head right here, and the head has a rigid body. It also has a circle collider. It's currently a collider. We also have our platform, and it has a box collider on it. And we saw in the last episode that if I hit play, the head is going to fall down. It's going to roll along this platform and simply roll away. That's all it's going to do. We're not going to get any kind of other interactions out of it. There's nothing else actually happen at this point in time. However, we do have the opportunity to actually interact whenever a collision or a trigger event occurs. There are actually three opportunities with each of those incidents, either a collision or a trigger event. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the knight head and I'm going to scrub down until I find the add component. I'm going to say add component. I'm going to add myself a brand new script that I will call trig, I guess I'll call it call trig example, and we'll create and add that. And it's right here. As soon as Unity goes through its thing here, there we go. I'm going to move it over to our scripts folder. Unity do its thing. And once it's done, I'm going to scrub down in the knight head and I'm going to find my call trig example and I'm going to double click to open it up. Oh, it opened up over here. So let me grab this and bring it back. Okay, so here is our call trig example script. It has nothing in it besides our start and our update as we expect. But as I've mentioned, there are three opportunities, either with a collision or with a trigger event, to actually communicate with this script. The first opportunity is whenever the collision or the trigger is first entered, so entering into a collision or a trigger. The second opportunity is exiting the trigger or the collision. And the final opportunity is whenever we stay in the collision state or stay within a trigger. All right, so let's take a look at how we're going to add those. I'm going to start off right away by just saying on trigger. I'll start with the triggers. And you can see as soon as I start typing, I get a bunch of different options. There's an on trigger enter and an on trigger enter 2D. It's, again, really important to note that the two systems do not interact. The physics systems do not interact. The 3D and the 2D do not interact. So in all cases, there's going to be both a 2D and a 3D version of what we're doing. If you choose the wrong one, it's not going to work. So let's start right away with the on trigger enter. And you can see right away it fills it in, private void on trigger enter. And with the case of the trigger, it takes a collider object. All right, and if you really want to look up and see exactly what the collider object is and what it can do, you can look that up, and it'll give you a list of all the things that are available within that particular case. Let's go down here and let's actually add all of them right now. I'll just add all of the oops, I don't know, I'm typing to private on trigger, and I'll say exit 2D and ooh, see, I started typing private and look what it did. There we go. I'll fix that. All right. And then the last one I'm going to add right away is the on trigger, and I'm going to go to the stay. All right. So these are the three that we have available for the trigger events. Exactly in the same way, we are going to have an on collider or on collision, sorry, enter 2D. We're going to have a, oops, I did that. Ooh, I'm fumbling around a lot today. We're going to have an on collision exit 2D, and lastly, we're going to have an on collision stay 2D. I've got this right now set up as collisions because, like I said before, we have two colliders that are available. The triggered events will only come into being if we have a trigger. And again, it's really super important to note that in order for any of these things to happen, for this to happen at all, at least one of the objects that is involved with the collision must have a rigid body associated with it. If I do not have a rigid body, if I have two objects that are colliders that are coming together and I do not have a rigid body associated with it, none of these events will trigger. None of these functions will actually operate. It only operates in the case of a rigid body being in the mix. Okay, and we have that with our knight head. We had a rigid body, which is allowing it to fall. Let's start right away. Let's just take a look at this, and it's going to be super easy. Let's just have it print something. Let's have it print quotations. I'll have it print entered the collision. Just so you can see, it doesn't really matter what you do in here. Just like anything else that you do, any other function that you have, it's going to do something, all right? If this condition is true, it's going to do something. The collision, or in the case of the collider 2D, oh, this is not, oh yeah, this is taking collision. See the difference here? I almost forgot to tell you guys this. In the case of a trigger, it takes a collider 2D, as I mentioned before. These actually used to say other, and I always name these other because this is, it gets confusing when you see collision, collision. So I always name my triggers other. And that's just my own habit. Oops. That's just my own habit. Okay, so you can see that the triggers themselves take a collider 2D as a parameter, and the collision takes a collision 2D as a parameter. Those are two different things. You can look up each of these to see exactly what they are. You can look them up online and to see what the difference are and what information it gives you. These are provided by the objects that are colliding together. That's what these are. These, you don't have to worry about entering these yourself. These are automatically provided by the interaction of the two or more objects that are occurring. Okay, so I'm just going to actually copy this a bunch of times. So I'm going to say print down here. I'm going to have it print exit. This is exit, so I'm going to have print exit the collision. And obviously I'm going to have it say stay in the collision. Okay, so I'm just going to file save this right now. And as it is, because we have the collider set up, this is going to work. We'll be able to see this happening within our console. So let me just move this thing out of the way. Okay, let's get our console up here and let's hit play and see what happens. What we're expecting to see is one time when the collider first touches this object, there's going to be an enter. And as it's leaving contact with this object, we're going to have an exit, but we're going to see an on stay everywhere else. That's what we're expecting to see. I've got this collapse set up. So if I uncollapse it actually, so we can see exactly how it works. We're going to see it fall, roll, perfect. And if we scrub up, we can see there are a ton of different events that occurred. All these are my print statements. If I collapse this, we can see we do have one on enter. So as soon as it entered in, we got this enter the collision one time. We had 33 on stays. So it rolled, as it rolled along here, it issued that same function 33 times. And finally, we had one exit collision. All right, let's stop this and let's drag back our script. Okay, we saw what happened on the collision. Let's see what happens on the trigger. It's going to be very, very similar. So I'm just going to copy this again. We'll go up here to the on trigger enter, and I'm going to control V that, and I'm going to say enter the trigger. So we'll just change this up a bit. Oops. Oops. Okay, let's grab this, copy that, put it down here. This is on our exit, the trigger. And let's dump it one more time right here. And this is on staying within the trigger. So unlike the collider, unlike the collision, when a collision occurs and the object is rolling, as long as contact is maintained between the collider and the other collider, as long as that is maintained, we will continue to issue this on collision stay. The on trigger stay is maintained as long as the trigger is within the collider. So again, it's not about it is kind of about contact, but it's not going to roll along. Like we saw before that if I change, and let me just save this, we'll file save this and make these changes. So save all and move this out of the way. If I make a change to the night head, and instead of our rigid body, instead of our collider being a collider, let's change to a trigger. Now we're going to watch as this object falls through this collider. So as it first touches, as it first enters into this other collider, we're going to get the on trigger enter. As long as this circle is inside of this box collider, so as long as our circle collider is in circle trigger, I should say now, is inside of our box collider, we are going to get the on stay event. And then just as the two separate, just as they separate, we're going to get a single on exit. So let's hit play and check it out. Let's actually clear this first. I don't have to, I don't know why I am, but here we go. We'll hit play. And it's already collapsed, so we should see this right away. Again, what we saw here is we saw the enter the trigger, great. We saw the stay on the trigger 9 times, so it was actually much faster. It didn't roll along, only 9 times the stay. And then lastly, we had a single exit. So let me stop this and drag it back. Hopefully you can see that you can pretty much do anything that you want inside of here. Anything that you want to occur during these opportunities will be issued. It's just like any other function. Nothing is different. Again, the only thing that you have to do is make sure that you have at least one rigid body that is involved with these events. Okay, there's something else I'd like to take a quick look at in this video. And I think that last thing we're going to take a look at is, because this is pretty short, I think the last thing we're going to take a look at is our physics materials. Okay, so to create a physics material, let's go into our project. Let's go into our assets. I've got myself a material folder here, which I created previously. There's nothing in our materials folder right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go into create. And I can actually look through here and try and find physics material. Now, there's a couple of gotchas here. Right away we say, oh, here's material. I wonder if this is it. That's not it. That's not the one we want here. But if we keep looking around like, oh, here's physics material. And if I click on this, we actually do create a physics material. However, like we've discussed previously, we have both a 2D and a 3D version of all of our physics objects. The same thing is true with our physics materials. This is a 3D physics material. I don't know why they did this, but if we right click and we go to create and we actually go to 2D instead, we're going to find the physics material right here that we're actually looking for. Again, these two things will not work together. So I'm gonna grab this one right away. I'm gonna change the name of this to let's call it bouncy, because I'm gonna use this one. Let's call it our bouncy material. Okay, so I've got myself a bouncy material here, and I have this physics 3D material. Let's take a look at the difference in these two. Right now we have 5 different options inside of the 3D physics material, and inside of the 2D we only have 4. There is a couple of options here. We have friction, bounciness for the 2D, friction, bounciness, friction combined, bounce combined. And if we take a look here, we have 2 different styles of friction: bounciness, friction combined, and bounce combined. Dynamic friction and static friction gives us an extra variable that's available within our 3D space. We're not going to be using that right now. We're going to stick with our 2D because that's what we're using. Remember, guys, you cannot use the 3D with a 2D, so we'll stick with the 2D. And basically, I want to create myself a bouncy material. I don't know what the values are going to be here. I'm going to reduce my friction to 0, so there's not going to be any kind of friction, anything stopping this object from sliding down here. But let's give it a bounciness of, I don't know, 10. Let's see. That might be a lot. I don't know. This is a guess. All right, I'm going to go to my knight head first of all. And in my knight head, I'm going to make sure that I am no longer a trigger because I want the collision to occur and I want something to happen as this collision occurs. It might actually occur with a trigger. We'll test that after because that'll be something new for me. But for now, we're actually going to say make it into a collider. And on our platform, excuse me, we are going to find our box collider and we are going to add our physics material either by dragging and dropping it in place, or we could click this little circle dot here and we could choose our bouncy material. So at this point in time, our platform has that bouncy material on it. I'm going to hit play. I don't know if those values are enough to actually make it bounce. I don't know if it's going to bounce a million miles. Let's hit play though and find out. Come on, bounce. Boy, okay, that was a lot. Maybe that was a little too much. Let's reduce our bounciness. Click on here. Let's reduce it to 1. That looks like maybe it's better. Let's hit play one more time. We're just looking for a little bounce. Boing. Ah, perfect. Okay, so we can see right away that previously, when we had no material on here, our object rolled along that platform. With the bounce on there, and again, I just picked a value. If this is too much bounce, it's too much bounce. Boink. We are getting a bounce out of it instead. Let's do what I suggested before, because I don't know. If this is a trigger, does our material still kick in? It might, because we still have our on trigger enter that occurs. Let's see what happens with our knight head set as a trigger instead. Where is my, down here, is a trigger. Let's see. I don't know what's going to happen here. It might actually still work. Play. No, okay, it doesn't. So the materials will only going to work if we actually have the collision that occurs. Okay, that was new for me. I didn't think it was gonna work, but I didn't know. You never know. There's a lot of things I don't know about this wacky engine. All right, creating your different materials are going to allow you to do different things. There's actually one more thing I do want to show you guys, because I don't think we've discussed this yet. Let's say that wow, I really like this bouncy asset. I really like this collider thing that I've got here, and I want to make want to make this 100 times within my game. I want to make a level out of it. I want to create a platformer game. Well, right now I have a choice of either kind of choosing this thing and duplicating it and copying and pasting it or whatever I want to do, and I can do that over and over again. The problem with doing something like that, copying it and doing it over and over again, is we are creating individual assets, and those individual assets have to be changed individually. If I do not like the way something is working, I want to change the bounce on all. I guess that's a bad example. If I want to change I don't know, the overall color of all of them to red or something like that, I can't do it unless I go to each and every one and change every platform in the same way or the way I want to. Unity has provided an option for us called prefabs, and a prefab allows you to take an object and make it into a template basically that you can use over and over again within your game. Creating a prefab is extremely easy. I'm going to again stay organized. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say create. I'm going to create myself a brand new folder that I'm going to call prefab. Prefabs. I'm going to click and open, double click and open it. And I'm going to grab my platform. I can grab it from wherever. I'm going to grab my platform and I'm going to drag it down here into the prefabs folder. You do not have to call it prefabs. You can call it whatever you'd like. It's as long as this object has been dragged somewhere inside of your assets folder, it will make a prefab of that object. Now, the prefab itself allows me to drag this over and over again into the scene. And I can manipulate these individually if I want to. So let's let's make this into a 30-degree this way instead. Now when I hit play, you're going to see that we are going to get this object back. Oh, I forgot to still trigger. Let's turn off trigger. Simulate, no, that keeps fooling me. Turn off the trigger. Let's hit play. And we're going to see our head bounce, 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 bounce. And it's going to keep bouncing on these objects for as long. I have no friction, so until it leaves the scene, it's going to keep bouncing like that. So you can see that I can now make this and grab this platform and change it 100 different times. 100 different times. I can put them up there as much as I want. If I want to change them all at the same time, I can. Let's say my boss comes up to me and says, you know what, we don't want white platforms. We want all of our platforms to be red. Well, like I said, if I had 100 of these, I could go on to each one. I could go and change the color of each and every one if I want to. Or I can double click on the platform itself in the prefab. I can come in and I can change one time. Let's say I want them this kind of reddish gray. One time, I'm gonna make sure that I've got this set up. One time, I'm gonna make sure that I have auto save on. If I don't, I'll have to save this, otherwise it will not stay. And lastly, I can go back to my scenes. And when I do, all of my prefabs have changed. Now, we don't have to leave it like this. Let's say we want one prefab to be green and the rest to be red. Well, we can go through and change them all. Or we can go into our overrides over here and we can change something. So let's say I want just this one prefab to actually be green. Boom, there we go. That one prefab is green. Now let's say my boss says, I really like the green. I want you to do that. Again, I could double click in the red down here inside of this one here and change it, or I can use this override. Now the overrides itself allows me to either revert to what it was, so back to the red, or apply to all. I want all my platforms to be green. I'm going to apply to all, and boom, all of my prefabs are now the same. Okay, so prefabs are a super powerful tool. If you're creating enemies and you want to instantiate those enemies later on, you want to have 1,000 enemies in your scene, you don't want to create each one individually, right? You're going to create a prefab of your enemy and you're going to use that throughout your game. Prefabs are super powerful. Okay, guys, that takes us to the end of this particular video. We actually covered more than I thought we were going to. We covered the coding of the triggers and the collisions. We also covered our physics material, and we covered prefabs in this one video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you're getting something out of this. If you did, let me know down below in the comments. If you didn't, that's perfectly fine. These entire series is being created for my students to help them out with their college course. An introduction to Unity and coding. That's what the course is. So I hope it's helping them out, and I'm hoping it's helping you guys out. All right. thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.